Hey guys, in this video I'll be comparing 1975 Arnold Schwarzenegger and 2023 Chris Bumstead. Now, I know I may be sort of late with this comparison, however, I thought that it would be a fun one to do nonetheless. The reason I'm using 1975 for Arnold is due to their similarities in weight, as 1974 would have been considerably larger than Chris. Now, before the video does start, a like and sub would really be much appreciated and helps out the channel tremendously. With that all being said though, let's get into this video. Starting off this comparison, like always, is the front double bicep pose. Now, both do present very competitive versions of the pose, however, for completely different reasons. Arnold perfectly embodies a classic old school ideal, as his large arms are very powerful due to his peaked biceps and swept triceps. His flaring lats and slight twist at the hips creates a very nice flow, and his quads, while not the largest and shredded, are decent, and his calves are proportional. Chris may not have the best arms, especially in the biceps. However, he features an objectively superior midsection and better lats, more sweep to the outer quads, and equally as good calves. The biggest difference between the current and golden era would be the conditioning disparity, which is clear when looking at the dry separation of the quads and arms of Chris. In the pose, I'd say that I do prefer Arnold for those massive arms in great classic proportions. However, Chris's conditioning, superior quads, and tremendous shape and flow are objectively better relative to current day standards. The front lat spread wasn't a pose that Arnold was necessarily famous for, while it was certainly Chris's calling card. Chris has those Dorian-esque super bulbous lats, which coupled with his wide frame, create for one of the best front lat spreads in the history of bodybuilding. His small waist, solid surrounding upper body muscles and conditioning, and great quads only further complement the pose, helping to make his silhouette and stage presence some of the best out there. Arnold does appear to be in comparable conditioning when looking at the upper body, and showcases more size in the arms, chest, and similar size in the delts. He does fall short in the quads, as we saw in the front double. However, his lats surprisingly aren't destroyed by Chris's. While Arnold has a great upper body, solid conditioning, and looks great alone, Chris undeniably is the better bodybuilder in this pose. Here's the side chest, one of Arnold's best poses, and here it is clear to see why this was the case. His chest is so large and genetically superior to Chris's, and that genetic superiority is definitely what set him apart from his competition. Chris does present an impressive chest of his own, featuring the better delt side leg by a mile and insane conditioning. However, Arnold has a good delt of his own, a far better arm, and that chest is just stellar. Like the poses thus far, Chris is inherently going to have an advantage in the conditioning and total development, as the competition has just increased so much since Arnold's time. Here's another variation of the side chest, showcasing a different variation for Arnold, and it actually does show that he was in very good conditioning upstairs, and had some pretty decent detail on the side leg as well. Sure, his side leg isn't nearly as developed or conditioned as Chris's, however, he pushes it up against his far leg, showcasing it better than the last pose. His chest is also so full and ripped, his midsection is much more aesthetic and detailed, and that arm and delt combo is deadly. Even with around 50 years of difference between these two, Arnold actually does impress me more. His conditioning could be better, however, I prefer his silhouette, aesthetics, and things like that all day. Going to the back, we see that the upper bodies are very competitive between these two. Arnold has those crazy arms and delts, and surprisingly more separation in the back, especially in that Christmas tree region. Chris's phenomenal lats are just as good from behind though, showcasing more width than Arnold, and he looks to present more mass overall. Of course, Chris also has the clear advantage in the lower body, presenting the shredded glutes and hamstrings, while Arnold has zero detail, mainly due to the posing not requiring the flexing of the lower body, or it being an afterthought. He does have great calves, better than Chris's, but, the detail and size disparity is just too much. Although he has a great back and huge arms, Chris is wider, has better legs, and really only loses in the arms and back detail, specifically in that lower back. The most muscular is definitely an interesting pose for these two, as both have massive upper halves and great conditioning. Like in virtually every pose thus far, Chris has the better quads, so it's kind of a write-off in that area. Upper body-wise, Arnold has those well-built arms with round delts, that thick strided chest, and a solid midsection. Chris, while not as good in the arms, has far rounder delts and equally as good chest in terms of conditioning, and a great midsection of his own. While some may prefer Arnold for his classic iconic shape, Chris is objectively better in more muscle groups, not to mention the superior separation and the superior detail that he possesses. Do let me know down below though, who would you prefer in this pose, the more modern look or the old school classic look? Here's some non-mandatory poses, this one being Arnold's signature 3/4 rear double bicep. The way he executes this pose, coupled with his long limbs and ideal proportions, are near perfect. Chris looks good as well, however, he bends down way too much in my opinion, and his shorter arms don't look as imposing as Arnold's. He does have impressive bicep peaks and a great back, and a phenomenal amount of detail in the glutes and side leg. However, something about it just doesn't look as good as Arnold's. That being said, Arnold could use a bit more leg size, as his quads and hamstrings do look a bit unproportional to his upper body relative to Chris's proportions. However, I think that is, what reflects the golden era ideals. Now, the last pose of this comparison is the single bicep or favorite classic pose, as this really is an apples versus oranges shot. Chris has that super deep and controlled vacuum, which makes his waist look so small compared to his wide upper body. In contrast, Arnold features that massive bicep peak, a great chest and close arm, and a small waist due to posing illusions. Personally, I do prefer Arnold's peaked bicep and overall flow, however, Chris is pretty good as well. Alright guys, that's about it for this video. In essence, I think that the main takeaway from comparisons like this one shouldn't be the purely objective ones, as comparing competitors with 50 years of difference won't always be fair. Both are a part of two completely different eras which favored completely different things. Who knows, if Chris were to go back in time, the judges may not even know what to do with him, where to place him, things like that, as his physique is so unique compared to anyone of Arnold's era. Anyways, please let me know in the comments what you thought of this comparison. If you liked the video, let me know as well, as it always, makes my day to see if you guys enjoyed it or not. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.